It is a very exciting time for shortcuts. I'm going to share a bunch of shortcuts for maps, multi-stop directions from your calendar event, sports score summaries, and even a shortcut to tell you when's the best time to mow your lawn. And I'm going to show you how to use a third-party app called Charty that was recently updated to create beautiful graphs, widgets, and automate it with changing your wallpaper every day. All of those are going to run on your iPhone right now with iOS 26, but I also have some new ones for iOS 27, especially using the new notification trigger automation, new shortcuts built with the describe a shortcut feature, and a ton more. Let's warm up with some quick ones. The World Cup is going on right now, we've been watching it, and you can get a quick summary of what happened yesterday by running my World Cup recap. Simple shortcut, gives you a breakdown of what teams played yesterday, what were their scores, and this one's using ChatGPT. You can download this version, but I'm also going to link a version down in the video description for iOS 27 because the use models action in iOS 27 is really good, especially at world knowledge. I'm going to use the private cloud compute model, which pulls from Apple's new world knowledge, and this doesn't work if you have iOS 26. You need the beta for this, but using the cloud model, it gives even a nicer formatted, all the scores with the teams in a bullet pointed list. So if you're on the beta, you can use this one or use the first one for any Apple device with Apple Intelligence. And one other sports related shortcut, this is for yesterday's sports scores. It's going to look at all the major leagues for the United States. That's NFL, MLB, NHL, and NBA. Uses a free API to pull all that information, and then Apple Intelligence to put it in a nice list. You can read about all the baseball games that happened yesterday, and once the other leagues are back in season, you'll see summaries of all of those right here. And one more Apple Intelligence shortcut, if you're trying to mow the lawn and you want to figure out when is the lowest temperature, lowest humidity, and 0% chance of rain, well, this shortcut just quickly gets the next week's forecast, gives it to Apple Intelligence Private Cloud Compute, and in a few seconds, it'll let you know the best day and time to mow your lawn. Now let's get into some map shortcuts, because I didn't realize shortcuts could do multi-stop directions from your calendar events. So what this shortcut does is gets all the events on your calendar for today, it gets the location for each one, and then adds it as a driving destination. The shortcut link that I'll share below, which you can download all the shortcuts totally for free down in the description. I'll keep this as your current location so it'll work right out of the box. I'll change the address for right now. Then when I run this shortcut, it's going to get all the calendar events, get the address from each, and then create turn-by-turn directions with every stop already set to go. I can expand this and you'll see all the addresses for the calendar events right here. Just make sure your calendar events have the address or location listed, and if you want, you can filter what calendar events it's pulling, but if you work a job where you have to make multiple stops and all those stops are in your calendar already, you can use this to set up turn-by-turn directions that quickly. Or maybe you're just planning a road trip or your errands for the day and you want to be able to start those turn-by-turn directions quickly. Well, this next shortcut is called Plan Your Route. It'll ask how many stops you're going to make, and you can search for multiple locations at a time, and then opens driving directions to each of those stops. So let's say I'm going to make 3 stops today. I'll tap done. Maybe I need to go to Publix first to get some groceries. I'll see all the results close to my location. I'll choose a location here. Then for the next stop, maybe we want to get some coffee, choose a stop here, and finally we'll pick up dinner. Then it will take all 3 of those stops, map them in turn-by-turn directions, and you'll see they're all ready to go, and I can start my turn-by-turn right away. By the way, if you want even more Shortcuts content, I'd love for you to join my Shortcuts community. Over 4,500 people have joined for free. You can ask for Shortcuts help, share Shortcuts you've built, and see what others have built. And when you become a member, you can tune in for my weekly live streams where we're going in depth on the new iOS 27 automations and actions. You can watch all my YouTube videos ad-free right here in the community. You can search my Shortcuts database, get priority requests, and a ton more. You can scan this QR code or go to shortcut.bot to join the community and become a member. And thank you to all of you who are already members. I appreciate your support. A couple more maps related shortcuts. I had requests in the community to go from Apple Maps to Google or vice versa. So maybe you prefer searching for a location in Apple Maps, but you want to be able to get turn-by-turn directions in Google Maps. Well, you can be here in Apple Maps, tap a business location, and then when you go to the share button, you can either copy the link and run the shortcut, or you should see it here in the share sheet. Here's Apple Maps to Waze and Apple Maps to Google. If I choose to Waze, it's immediately going to start turn-by-turn directions in the Waze app, and turn-by-turn directions are already live. Or if you want to hit the share button and instead get turn-by-turn directions from Google Maps looking at this location, just tap Apple Maps to Google and it'll open the Google Maps app and you're ready to start driving right here. Or if you'd like to go the other direction, I can search for businesses and locations here in Google Maps, tap the share button, and then go down to Google to Apple Maps, and then we'll open Apple Maps directions to that business location. Tap Always Allow, kicks me over to Apple Maps, and I'm ready to start turn-by-turn directions here. Next, I want to show you a third-party app I've been using to build charts and graphs right in Shortcuts, and then some automations for iOS 27. But even with the new automations and actions, I wanted to push Shortcuts even further, like use more cloud services, have automations run even more often. But that's where today's sponsor comes in, Make. Make is a powerful automation platform that can extend shortcuts even further. For instance, maybe you want to save and rename the screenshots on your iPhone, but then save them to a cloud service like Google Drive. Well, doing that built into shortcuts can be difficult, but with Make, I can create a shortcut like this, where I get the screenshots from my phone, have a repeat with each, and then I can create something called a webhook in Make, access it via a URL, and I can create automations like this, where those screenshots are sent to Make, they're renamed using AI, and then get saved to a Google Drive account that I have authenticated in Make. So I can run this shortcut, choose a couple screenshots, and in a few moments, they're renamed and uploaded to my Google Drive. And that's where using Make plus shortcuts can get really powerful. I can log into multiple services like 11 Labs, Google Drive, and even social media accounts like Mastodon, and then automatically generate posts and trigger things from shortcuts. And because shortcuts doesn't make it easy to run automations on an hourly or more often basis, Make is perfect for that. Another example I have here is I can follow an RSS feed and then have Make refresh every 15 minutes checking for new items. This is checking my personal Now feed whenever I post new content. I can use the Make data stores and then filter future RSS pulls to make sure I don't get duplicate notifications. And then I can even integrate something like Pushcut, a third-party app we've used a ton of time on this channel, to send myself a notification. I'll run this automation here in Make. You see here on my iPhone, I got that push notification, and I was able to program it in Make so when I tap it, it actually opens that piece of content wherever it came from. There's also a visual builder called the Make Grid. This is great for showing those multi-step cross-platform workflows across your account. And there's lots of built-in AI actions that can let you process information you send to Make from shortcuts quickly. And when you add AI tools like the Make AI agents, you can actually see the reasoning that the agent is going through with your instructions. This way you can see exactly what it's doing behind the scenes. And you can connect over 3,000 apps, things like Airtable for building databases, social media accounts, Slack, WordPress, and a ton more. So if you've hit the limits of what shortcuts can do and you want automations that work across platforms logged into the services you use every day, you can try Make for free right now. No credit card, no commitment. The link is down in the video description and in my pinned comment, and you get 1 month of their Pro plan completely for free. That's 10,000 operations, so go wild, create tons of automations. So try Make today, totally for free at that link down in the video description. My thanks to Make for sponsoring this video. So these next few shortcuts are using a third-party app called Charty. Charty was recently updated to version 2.0, and it is a beautiful app specifically to provide really great shortcuts actions, and I'm going to show you what we can do with it. Number one, you might want to be able to log and then see your current weight on a chart. Well, if you don't want to use a third-party app, I will include this version, and this has Apple Intelligence using ChatGPT to create an ASCII line graph from your Apple Health data. You'll need to give this shortcut access to your health data the first time you run it, but it will prompt you to enter your current weight. So if you've just weighed yourself, you can put that in. And then it's going to take all the data from the last 2 months, give it to ChatGPT, and this will create a little ASCII chart showing you your weight trend. But when you use actions from Charty, you can get really beautiful graphs and then even use them as widgets, which I'll show you in a moment. This is going to do the same thing, ask for your weight input, get the last 9 months, and then it's going to use the Charty actions to create a chart. And if the chart already exists, it will update it. Then it's going to export that chart as an image. So I can run this, enter a weight, and then it's going to create a Charty super fast. Then you can have this as a widget on your home screen or do some fun things with wallpapers. Now you can try Charty for a couple weeks. It is $1 a month or $10 a year. But before you decide, let me show you a couple other shortcuts. You can have Charty do things like show you your daily water intake or your calories and move minutes for a day, and then create a nice looking chart. This water intake tracker was actually made by Richard in the shortcuts community. There's a link to the actual post where he shared his original shortcut, and I swapped out the last actions to be Charty. And now I can create a ring chart based on my water goal for the day and how much I consumed. I need to drink some more water. You can also do data over time. Like if you want to see the daily energy you've been using over the last week, you can quickly create and update a chart for that. You can even ask it things like, how busy have I been, and get your calendar events and chart those on a graph. When I run this, it'll show me how many events I had per day, and it shows me the last week in a little bar chart. You can even use Charty with something like online data, so maybe a .csv file, or even connecting this to a Google Sheet that you have at a public link, and it can create beautiful looking charts and even let you style them, which I'll get into in a moment, but here are a couple really cool examples. This one is called Year's Progress, and I built this shortcut to calculate from January 1st of the current year. It gets the amount of days already passed in the year. It also gets the amount of days passed in the current month and the number of hours passed in the day. And then I'm going to create a new chart called Year Progress. Here you can hard code the ID of the chart and replace it This way, whenever you update and run this shortcut, it will make it up to date and you won't have duplicate charts. Then you can add a ring to this chart, and here I have the year, the month, and then the day. When you look up the Charty actions, it can be a little overwhelming at first, but you can start with something like a new chart with a series. And when you add that action, you can title your chart, you can label what the series is, then you can choose a line, a ring, donut, pie graph, or a bar graph, and then you can select X values and Y values. X values might be the date, like from the health samples, I chose the date variable, and the Y values might be the actual sample, like your weight or the amount of water drank. And remember, you can toggle off the automatic ID if this is a chart you want to be updating regularly. So this shortcut creates the chart, adds multiple rings to the chart, so this is the same action going to the same chart ID, and you can even choose what color you want the ring to be. I put a hex code here, you can choose whether you want it to be a gradient, and you can even show a little symbol. That'll come in the next shortcut I'm going to show you. And then I'm going to export this chart as an image. Now, I can set that chart as a widget and actually have that widget right here. So now this shows me the hours in today, it shows me the days passed in the current month, and then the middle ring is how many days have passed in the current year. We're almost halfway through. But I wanted to be able to see this prominently on my wallpaper. So I added some actions here at the bottom of the shortcut that gets a wallpaper from Basic Apple Guy's website, resizes the chart to fit on the wallpaper, and then it's going to set my wallpaper with the chart on top of it. So if I run this shortcut, it's going to update all the information. It's going to add that chart on top of the wallpaper image, and then it's going to show me a preview of the wallpaper of my choice and the rings showing the current day, month, and year's progress. And then I can automate the shortcut to run every morning, and then it will be updated automatically, and I can keep the same wallpaper or choose your own. Right here, I have this getting contents of a wallpaper image URL, and I'll put a link to Basic Apple Guy's website if you want to choose a different wallpaper for this to run with. But we can get even more advanced. But this shortcut gets even more advanced. This is called Life Progress. When you first download it, you're going to be asked for your birth date. You put your birth date right here, and that's going to add 4,000 weeks. That's also a book I really enjoy. It's the typical average lifespan of a human. And this is going to create a chart with a ring showing you the progress of your life. Then after that, I've built in some of the actions I used from my random Basic Apple Guy wallpaper. Then every time this shortcut runs, it's going to get a random wallpaper from Basic Apple Guy, create the current life progress with whatever today's date is, and put that ring on top of the wallpaper. Then you can have a little memento mori right on your lock screen every day. Now there's a lot of customization here. Number one, make sure to choose the right wallpaper, lock screen, home screen combination down here in the bottom action. And if you want this to be automated to run every morning, expand this and turn off the show preview toggle. Then it'll set automatically without you taking any action. Then if you want to customize how the ring looks, you'll see here the style series. This is the action that dictates what the ring looks like. So this is the hex code for all white, 6 Fs. You can choose whether you want a gradient or not, and you can even choose to show a symbol. You might have seen a little symbol of the guy walking in the ring. Well, if you don't want that, you can just toggle it off, tap the play button, and now the next time it generates, there won't be a symbol, it will just be the plain ring. And we'll wait for the wallpaper preview to come up, and there you have just the ring with no symbol. So those are a few examples of what you can do with a third-party app called Charty, pairing it with wallpapers, creating widgets. There's the current year, day, and month progress, and then you can update that. And the Charty widgets are actually really powerful also. You can choose what chart you want to see here in the widget. You can choose to show the title, the legend, and a ton more. Really cool app. Highly recommend. All right, a couple more quick ones, and then we'll get into an iOS 27 automation. Someone in the community asked for a logging your dog's weight. This is going to find a note called dog weight log. It will look for that note. If it doesn't already exist, then your iPhone will create it automatically. And it uses that little ASCII line chart to actually show you the graph right here. It does require Apple Intelligence, but you enter your dog's weight, we'll say 14 pounds, and in a moment it'll get whatever data is in that note and then plot it out on that chart. And now we have a little graph marking our dog's weight over time. Next, someone needed alarms to remind them to take eye drops at a certain time. Now this could be for anything, any alarm or reminder that you really don't want to miss. What this shortcut will do is create 4 reminders during the day at these times, which you can change. And in recent iOS 26 versions, you can mark a reminder as urgent. This will create an alarm associated with that reminder time. So not only will you get the little reminder notification, but a full-on alarm will go off. You can automate this to run every day, and then these reminders will be created all the time. Another cool request was having a certain wallet pass appear depending on your location. So I'll include this shortcut below, and what you can do is maybe you have a street for your gym, there's a street for your bank, and you want a specific wallet pass to open when you're at that location. Well, you can also change street to location name. We'll keep it on street. I'm going to put my home address here, and then I can choose what Apple Wallet pass we want to appear. Let's say I want my Hyatt card to appear when I run the shortcut at home. Well, I just put in my home street. Well, now when I run this shortcut, if I am at my home location, it should open that Hyatt pass, and sure enough, it did. Then you can add multiple locations to these different if statements. Maybe one is your gym, and it'll open your gym pass. Another is a restaurant or other rewards program. And you can run one shortcut to pull up the exact pass you want whenever you're there. Also works with things like your Starbucks card. All right, now let's talk about iOS 27. First of all, there are new actions and new automations. I covered that in my last video, which I'll link over here on shortcuts. But I do want to share in beta 2, when you go to the automation section, there are now toggles per automation, which is great. This way you can toggle an automation right from here in the list, and you can even tap the filter icon in the top right and just look at the turned on automations or the turned off automations. Really cool. Now, a couple actions I want to draw your attention to that I didn't cover in the last video. The get what's on screen action is actually changing in iOS 27. Before, it would only get URLs and seemingly only work in something like Safari. Well, the get on-screen context can now pull all of this kind of information. It can do things like phone numbers, calendar events, text, URLs, even voice memos, and then you can take further action. So for instance, I can do something like pull reminders from on screen, and then I'm going to program this to my action button. Then if I go to something like reminders, here I have multiple reminders on screen, I'll run this shortcut, and then the get context of screen, I actually have a choose from list where I can select one of the reminders that I'm looking at, and then it shows it in a quick look, but I can take further action and add other shortcuts actions after that. You can also do this with something like files. So now when I go to my Files app, maybe I want to take action on all of these images at once. Well, when I run the same shortcut, now that it's getting the files, I can see this is a choose from menu, but instead I could replace this with a repeat with each action, or do something with these files like save them to my camera roll or delete them, and I can take action on multiple items at once. We're going to be playing around with this action in my Shortcuts community for our weekly live stream, so stay tuned for that. That's the get on screen action, and there's an updated search action. So here I can choose to have a search term, and for type, I can search my contacts, mail, messages, photos, voice recordings, and more. I can also search across all of them, or just search for things like messages, and then I can select something from a list and show a preview. Now, some of these actions are not working 100% of the time, like this search and get on-screen context. This is still beta 2, but stay tuned, we'll be building more shortcuts with these actions very soon. But one cool thing about an iOS 27 automation is getting a notification from an app and then doing further actions. So I wanted to see, can I send a notification from a shortcut and then have an automation run from another device that gives information back to the first device? I'll show you what I mean. Let me move all my guys here. And what this automation does is when my iPhone Air on iOS 27 gets a notification from the app Brrr, which is an app like Pushcut, it's going to get the battery level of this device, my iPhone Air, and then send the information about the battery level in a Pushcut back to my iPhone 17 Pro Max. So I'm going to go here and run this shortcut. I call it request battery status. This is going to send a notification to the iPhone Air. Once that notification hits the iPhone Air, an automation should run in the background. You'll see here, notification came in. This automation should run, and then it's going to send the battery status in a Pushcut notification back here. And there we have it. I also have the automation on my iPad Pro, which you would have seen. So now if I look at my notifications, I actually see the battery status for both my iPhone Air and my iPad Pro. I could tap in and see my iPhone Air is at 86%, and I could see my battery here is at 98%. So that's a cool example. Just tell me the battery percentages of my other Apple devices, maybe a MacBook Air as well, and I can trigger it right here from my iPhone, and the notification automation can get the information and send it back via Pushcut. But this also means I can just trigger any shortcut to run on something like my Mac Studio at home by sending it a notification. So I'm going to duplicate this shortcut, which is actually the notification automation. When you jump in, remember in iOS 27, automations are just built in here, which also means I can share these. So I'll share links to these full automations down in the video description, along with all the other shortcuts. I'm just going to call this Wallpaper Automation. I'm going to remove these other actions. I still want this to trigger when I receive a notification from Brrr, but maybe I want one of my shortcuts that automatically changes the wallpaper to run. I'm going to go into this shortcut and this pulls a random wallpaper from Basic Apple Guy. Let's call this new Wallpaper Air so it's unique to this device. So let me choose a lock screen home screen combo of a static photo so it can change. And now let me go back to my automation, the wallpaper one. And when my iPhone Air receives a notification from Brrr, we're going to use a run shortcut command, and we're going to choose our wallpaper. And we'll do the new Wallpaper Air that we just programmed. Let's enable this automation. We'll go back to the Automations tab. Here's the one we want. When I get a notification, run that wallpaper shortcut. Now, let's go back and we'll go to the lock screen so we can see if it actually works sending it from my iPhone. Now I'm going to run the same shortcut. That sends a Brrr notification to my iPhone Air. Once that notification hits the iPhone Air, it should run the automation, and just like that, I was able to change the wallpaper on my iPhone from my other device. And I still got the battery level notifications of my iPad right here. Now this might seem like a little frivolous use case, but this means you can use apps like Brrr or Pushcut to trigger shortcut automations running on your Mac. That could be restarting your device, running longer shortcuts that you don't want to run on your iPhone or your iPad. Maybe you want to open certain applications and open Windows on your Mac just by sending a notification from shortcuts on your iPhone. Really, the possibilities are endless. So I'm super excited about these new automations and actions. Again, if you want to join my shortcuts community, you can go to shortcut.bot or scan this QR code, and there's going to be some exciting live streams. We'll get into more advanced automations, and as changes are happening throughout the betas, I'll be covering them there in our weekly live streams as well. I'll put my last video that talked about all the new actions, including the new storage action, which is really fun. That video will be right over here. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. All the Apple tips, iOS 27 updates, and a ton more. And spoiler, Siri AI is actually really good. I did an entire video on that. You can check out my full demo right here. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you next time.